Hey, welcome to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. Friday, May 23rd. We got Mother's Day weekends behind us. Once again, thanks to all our mothers out there, all the great things they do. Hope you were good to your mother when they had Mother's Day weekend. We got Kevin Motsinger as our guest today, the head Bulldog. How are things in Bulldog land?
Kids have been working hard and getting ready for the summer. We're in the dead period right now with exams. We finish a little bit earlier in you Stallions and Cardinals and all the folks over on this part of the coast. But we're in the dead period right now, and we'll get back lifting here in a couple weeks.
And remind me to get back to that school scheduling thing later. There's a question I have for some of the coaches as they come in. I want to welcome Ashley Moseley, our co-host today. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, buddy. We got to recognize our veterans and all the men and women who
Memorial Day
served us
weekend,
for
man.
Memorial Day weekend. Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate what you do and what you've done.
And keep in mind, Facebook is out there. Everybody's a Facebook warrior. You can do like you want to. But when you're posting stuff on Memorial Day weekend, it's Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people will say, I've seen people post, want to recognize my son who's in, Army on Memorial Day weekend. I'm like, did he pass away? Because, otherwise that's Veterans Day weekend,
Yeah.
And we love our troops, but Veterans Day and Memorial Day is for those that paid that ultimate sacrifice.
Right.
Dying for our country and to keep us freedom. And we want to make sure we understand that. And it's tough. I mean, a lot of times I think in schools nowadays, and Kevin, you could probably talk about this a little bit, I'm not sure some of the sacrifices that our troops have made in the past are taught like they used to be. The history of this country and all the things that have gone on to make us where we can do like we want to. Where I can stand here in front of a microphone and say up to a certain number of things before the FCC steps in.
Right.
But you know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
And we appreciate our troops, and especially here in the military town, military area. We love them.
And thank you for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for coming,
having me.
It's good to meet you.
I do want to thank our sponsors, and then we'll get started with the Kevin Motsinger story. Oh, wow. It's a long story from when Kevin first bounced into this world on a dark and stormy night to the explosive start he had at we'll get there. Okay. All right. I want to thank our sponsors, National Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, CNS Paint, Ron Choate and Victor Case, Golden Corral, Mr. Billy Sewell, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, of course, Rick Morton, the head pro out there.
Needs to be in the Jackson Hall
of Fame. He's competed in the senior PGA and all that stuff, recently in the past years, and best golfer in Onslow County by far, in my opinion, to come from this area with his accomplishments he's had. Jones Onslow EMC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative. Jones LP Gas, located in Raynor. Are you familiar with Jones? Have you ever heard the story of them, Jones LP Gas?
I hadn't heard the story.
$11 to get your propane cylinder filled on Fridays.
There you go.
So I should have told you to bring your cylinder with you while you're here today.
It's on your way home, too, buddy.
Every Friday. Southern Touch Painting, Fountain Management, Miss Sandra Fountain, Onslow County Motor Company, Barnes Diamond Gallery, Lane & Associates Family Dentistry, Drs. Tommy and Kim Morgan, Bartley Insurance Services, Mr. Bill Mercer, Humphrey Heating and Air Conditioning. And we want to thank Helen's Kitchen. They're not here yet, but Billy Grist's going to roll up in here with some magic in a bowl. It's called Billy Bowls. You'll come back because you'll want to get back on the list to come back for them because they're worth just the price of admission, aren't they, Ashley?
That's the only reason I can't
You get sausage in them, you get ham in them, bacon, eggs, cheese, grits, and that don't even compare to their regular breakfast that they have. We have our Hurricane Watch. It's going to be interesting. Powered by Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning, Jason Humphrey in the gang. Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. And we'll talk more about that later. Our racing report is powered by the Onslow County Motor Company, Mr. Ben Beasley and the gang. Got just about every car you want down there, all types of cars, all price ranges, very affordable, very, you've got one of those. You bought from Onslow County Motor Company, and you loved your car.
I bought one 20 years ago.
And you loved it, hadn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've been in a road trip in that car. They got you a good car. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at WSME Radio. You can watch us live and view tons of previous shows and podcasts. You can watch us live and follow us on Facebook at Freedom 97.1 WSME. Listen online and live at our website, WSME971.com. They have archived audio podcasts there. You can go back and see shows. Coach Padgett did this show before me and got it started and off to a great start and was rolling with it. And there's old archive shows from there on there. Mm-hmm. Tons of stuff to listen to. And our studio hotline is 910-346-2248. If you ever have a burning question for the WSME crew or me or Ashley. But without further ado, it was a dark and stormy night when little Kevin Motsinger, bounced into the world. What about 25, 26 years ago?
At times two.
You wish, huh?
Yeah, I wish.
We all do. Do you ever have to catch yourself sometimes saying, wow, I've been on this earth a little longer than sometimes I think I have, especially when we went off last weekend to Tennessee and went to some treetop ropes course thing, and I realized I weren't as young as I used to be, and I ain't as agile as I used to be. Stuff don't move like it used to, does it?
You're not as agile, but you're more fragile.
Agile and fragile. Well, get us all started, Kevin. What did you do like in high school? You know, I know you were in sports. What were you into when you played?
I played football, basketball, baseball. Went through all of that.
Where are you from, Kevin?
Walberg, North Carolina.
Wahlberg?
Yes, sir.
That's the home of Donnie and all them, right?
No. You either farmed or you went into Winston-Salem and worked at RGR.
I got you.
Or both.
Or both. Plumbers, electricians.
So you're close to Winston-Salem?
Yes, sir.
Wahlberg, okay.
Yes, sir. It's right between Winston-Salem and High Point.
Okay.
That area, it's right attached to Thomasville, North Carolina. And so you either went, the biggest majority, I'd say, went into Winston-Salem for RJR or went into Thomasville for Thomasville Furniture.
I got you.
And that's kind of where I grew up, and just good old farming country and country folks that worked hard and feared God and went to church on Sundays. And
There used to be a bull rider from that area. I think he got paralyzed.
he was from Denton. That
Okay.
area. Yeah, he was down that way. I know you. I can't remember his name.
I can't either, but he was
I-
up that way, yeah.
I'd forgotten that, but now it is in that. You was talking about getting old, but yes, I do remember that.
And so, what sports were you into in school?
Football, basketball, baseball,
Which was your top one?
football. I love football.
You strike me as a baseball guy too.
No,
You just look like you had that like you'd be out there, you know, as a reliever closing down the ninth inning in the World Series.
nah.
Mainly football though.
Football is my thing. I tried wrestling my freshman year, and that didn't work out. And then so I went out for basketball. That's the first time I'd ever played basketball. And my best coach in high school was my basketball coach, Robert Kent. And everybody has a coach. It made a difference.
Yeah.
Coach Kent was my guy. How he impacted my life, and I took my football mentality into basketball. I joke with our guys today, but basketball, you get to knock the fool out of somebody 5 times, and then they make you sit down and don't play no more. In football,
Now it all depends on how you knock the fool out of them.
Well-
As we saw from the WNBA this past week, if you do it just right, you can be on every sports show in the country for a
Over
week.
and over and
Yeah,
over
over and
again.
over.
It's funny the first job I got at Northside High School when I graduated from Appalachian State. First job I got chasing my wife, who was my girlfriend then and then fiance. She was at med school at East Carolina, and so I moved down east and.
You're talking about
her.
Northside Pinetown.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And Northside and Jacksonville wasn't built yet.
Yeah, they started in like 2000 or so.
I got that job because I was supposed to be the girls' basketball coach, and that's the reason they hired me. And I was going to coach football and then help with baseball, but I never coached girls' basketball because once I got there, and then I ended up being defensive coordinator, and I was
awesome.
baseball varsity assistant. And you didn't want me swinging a bufungo bat. I wasn't.
You weren't as quite accurate as you need to be.
I'm much better with an axe than I am with a fungo.
There's an art to the fungo, man, to hit it on the end of that longer bat, or even using a regular bat for ground balls. If you ain't careful, you'll wing somebody in the infield.
It's
What
an art.
position did you play in high school football?
I was linebacker and tight end.
I got you.
Now you talk about your being signed on as the girls' basketball coach too, or I can't tell you how many coaches have come on here and said their first gig to come in, they're like, "Great, man, I'm a assistant varsity coach." Next thing you know, you're signing a piece of paper that says you're coaching 3 other things that you never, like
yeah.
Tim Foster coaching soccer and then never
yeah.
coached in his life. you
Well,
know?
I joke with these guys today, but I'll never forget, and these are factual numbers. I was making $17,500 before taxes to teach.
Yeah.
They paid me $500 to coach football, and they paid me $250 to be the varsity baseball assistant, JV baseball head coach, and that's what I was getting paid. And that was mid '90s, and when me and my wife left and went to Alabama, I felt like Alabama would be worse, but the starting teacher pay in Alabama at that time was $28,500.
That big a difference.
Oh yeah, and then what I got paid to coach football there, and then I also coached baseball, and it still doesn't come close to what I'm making now.
Well, it's the same thing now with South Carolina. How many coaches have you seen in North Carolina? Migrate to South Carolina.
Everyone that can.
Yeah,
Everyone.
Joey
$100,000.
Price. That's what Joey did, wasn't it?
Everyone you
They're
can.
making six figures down there. A lot of
Oh,
them.
look, Twitchell at West Craven, I heard some coaches talking about it, posted something. I don't get on Facebook or Twitter or none of that stuff, but he had a thing, that imaginary line, you go into South Carolina. But, I'm being honest with you. I've been back in North Carolina. I've been at Wallace 8 years. I was at New Hanover 10. I was at James Keenan 3. I was at Pender 1. So you all can do the math. They don't want me teaching math, but
You just know multiples of 7, don't you? 7, 14, 21.
I was making more in Alabama than I'm making now.
Really?
Oh yeah, and
That's crazy.
It is crazy, and that's we talk about it. We used to talk about public schools and everything before.
Half the stuff we talked about before the show probably wasn't. Good for airtime.
Well,
The show before the show.
the show before the show, the pre-show.
well, since the late 1980s, when I'm in high school, every governor and every politician, all they talk about and they run on is raising teacher pay. Where we are in 2025, and North Carolina's 48th. in the
I understand
nation.
that 60% of North Carolina budget goes to education for children first through the 12th grade.
Yeah. But then they don't take care of the teachers. That's why they've lost
Yeah.
them.
Well, the superintendent's making a couple $100,000,
Well,
and all that kind of stuff.
Well, in our central offices, we get our
Administrative costs.
That's right.
Yeah,
The central offices
yeah.
get bigger and bigger, while your teaching staff gets less and less.
Right.
Well, and the bad thing is so many, like we talked about as coaches. I always want to say Billy Bob right start because the Varsity Blues character, but Jim Bob,
Yeah.
Jim Bob Thornton. Jim Bob Thornton.
It's Billy Bob Thornton. It's Jim Bob Bryant.
Bryant,
Yeah, Jim Bob Bryant. Yeah.
I'm mixing up all my
French
cliches
fried
and names.
taters. You
French
talking
fried
about-
potatoes? I
Yeah.
like them. Now I know. Okay. You never would have thought leaving Havelock. The program he built there, they were top of the line. He was from Havelock.
Yeah.
Just ingrained in. And then South Carolina comes with an offer. He couldn't be beat.
Well, Jim Bob left. Caleb King.
Yeah.
Same thing. He
Same
left.
thing.
He
He had a little trouble getting back though.
Well,
He's back now, isn't he?
Oh yes, sir.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, yeah.
Craven County. About anyway, probably better not.
Yeah.
Best not to open that can
Yeah,
of worms.
when we get into politics and rocks start flying.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Anyway, yeah, you're
You know,
right
Luke
about that.
Little just resigned yesterday at Laney.
I saw that. Yeah,
He's
and
going-
it's late in the.
He's
late
going
in
to
the
South
season.
Carolina. So
Is that why? Because he better
Yes, sir.
job. So and that puts them right behind the 8 ball right to start with, trying to get a new coach. And they may have somebody on staff that they have in mind. Not
Brandon Aiken.
they ain't come looking. You have they?
No,
Well, no,
no,
you probably better not.
Nah,
say
I'm
that.
not going anywhere. I've had a lot of folks over the years, but I'm gonna die on my shield as a dog or walk off with it, and better than everybody thinks it's gonna be the next several years.
Brandon
where you
Aiken got
wanna
a
be.
head coach job, I believe, at Pamlico.
Okay.
Yeah, he was one of the
East
Havelock
Jacksonville.
assistants. I think there was a couple
Champion
Havelock
wing
assistants that
eater.
went to Pamlico. Yeah, so Pamlico might be on the upswing, getting
yeah.
some more pedigree down there. Now you started out. What was your first school as a head coach?
James Keenan.
James Keenan.
Yeah. That was my first head job. I was there 3 years.
Okay.
And
Was
then-
Avent there right before you came?
No, Avent came after me.
Came afterwards.
Yes, sir.
'Cause
I called Coach Avent when I accepted the job at New Hanover High School. I called my wife, talked to her. I hung up with her, and then I called Ken and told him, I was like, dude, you need to take this job. Because he had, all the guys that helped him coach, a bunch of them were hog farmers and different things. He had guys in the community who'd come with him, and we had 33 kids coming back off of that team that played varsity football in 1A. And I told him, you got a chance to win the next 3 state championships, and they went to 2 of them, won one of them.
And see, that's the program that you built, though. That was the fruits of your labor after you left. It was very similar with New Hanover.
Yeah.
You had a good thing going at New Hanover. You left there, and then they went to state championship shortly after. And it happens more times than you think. No knock on the new coach coming in, but it's tough as a new coach to come in and win right away. A lot of times it's the same thing with you at Wallace. You were handed a good program from Coach Price. Now, Coach Price, the main thing was because of the South Carolina, the difference in pay and things like that. Because I don't think he wanted to leave Wallace. Probably he probably liked it too, but. He was at South Columbus, for years.
Oh, yeah.
And for years, they were them and Northside Jackson were probably the best 2 teams to never win a state championship in 2A football.
That's right.
South Columbus was there every year.
That's right.
And tough team. Those Stallions were down there, but just couldn't get over the hump. So he comes up to Wallace, And that's a whole different football culture, ain't it?
Amen. It's Coach Holly built, playing Southwest Onslow. We've been in conference,
Clinton,
and then,
yeah.
Clinton, Bob Lewis, what he did at Clinton, Coach Pageant at Southwest, Coach Holly, everything I put on, I call it the Holly tree. And when I got the job, a lot of people thought we were moving up, 2A from 1A, and we wouldn't be able to compete. The talent was going to be down, and that's what everybody thought. And I tried to tell them that, y'all are dogs, and, you're pedigree dogs, and you came off the Holly tree. And, a lot of people took the Holly tree the wrong way because Coach Holly didn't win a state championship. And so there were some people that I'd offended and felt like I was giving him too much praise. But the bottom
They
line
didn't know
was,
the program then.
well, the bottom line is he planted the seed.
We built the foundation.
When he
out
came
there.
in 1982, he planted the seed, and the Bible says that if the tree is not producing fruit, you cut it down. And that tree that he planted and what he created, then you see the fruit.
Yeah.
And growing up where I grew up, we had apple trees, and a lot of times there was a lot of apple trees, and I never saw any fruit come off of until I come back from college. And that's in everything. Everybody, but our society today, everybody wants it right now. Amazon's going to deliver
No, they
tomorrow.
want it yesterday.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, you
right,
can
yeah.
Google it. And
Instant
so-
gratification.
That's right, and that's what society preaches, and that's what the devil wants, beating everybody's head. And but that ain't the way it works in football and life. It doesn't work that way.
No.
And we've talked about it on the show before. Growing up, you're younger than I am, but growing up, I was about 12 years old when the Miracle on Ice happened in 1980.
Okay.
Nowadays, I'd have known about it before the game ever come on because it was tape delayed. Nobody knew. We didn't really even know back then.
That's right.
You just knew it was coming on at 8 o'clock that night
That's
or
right.
5 o'clock, whenever it was. It actually was played earlier in the day, and nowadays it'd be ruined for you because
Oh, yeah.
you know about it as it's happening. You know,
yeah.
it's just a different time, and I'm not so sure these things have made us better. To be honest with you,
I think it's killed us. I think it's it's poisoned our kids.
Yeah.
Just driving over here. That was at least 7 times driving from Wallace Rose Hill
See
to
'em on the
coming here.
phones in the car.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so I'm getting ready to get in the grass because that yahoo's over there texting and looking at their phone, and I'm sitting there going, all I want to do is get home to my wife and kids.
I don't understand. That's one reason I miss newspapers. And I know you can get one, once or twice a week, but you get home and you read the newspaper, it normally takes a while to process what you're looking at or reading in the newspaper. Right now, you don't have time to process anything with that telephone. Just bam, 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 bam.
scan the headlines. That's about
Right.
it.
Well, you think y'all, listening to you gentlemen talk about sports, and you're talking about playing at Goldsboro and
He
growing
called
up.
us gentlemen.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
That's nice.
People can. I don't know if people can see the shirt you got on, but that's a gentleman in fashion
I flew,
shirt.
that, my
Yeah,
wife got me this
y'all,
shirt.
y'all,
She told me I had to stop wearing the black shirt on here every day. So that's a good time to take a break. There's no tornado coming. It's just time to take a break. We'll be right back on Sports Talk. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. You heard the sounds of Sammy Hagar there. I Can't Drive 55. Still one of my favorite songs. It's a bad song to have on the interstate because it makes you want to not drive 55. But anyway, the NASCAR boys were at North Wilkesboro this week, and that just makes my heart warm right there.
Amen.
Go back to North Wilkesboro, get that track back. I saw some pictures on Facebook this week of the resurrection of the track. Man, them pictures of the trees growing up in the stands and the place just disheveled. Is that the word? Disheveled?
That's a good word.
That's the SAT word. Yeah. It just looked terrible. And Little Lee and some others get together, come in. Man, that place is. I went there for a thing they did for flood relief in the mountains this past year, and they had it as a staging site and everything. And while I was there, they let me look around the track and take some pictures and stuff. It's just like brand new, man. Awesome. It's awesome. Are you a big NASCAR fan?
No, my dad was and still
He
is.
was in the heyday, probably,
yeah.
when the good stuff
We used to
was
go
going
to
on.
all the races in Charlotte. We went to Daytona.
So you went to some too?
We went to North Wilkesboro. Been to Rockingham.
I've never been to North Wilkesboro other than just seeing the track. Been to Charlotte, Darlington, Rockingham, of course, Talladega. Just back in the heyday, it was just a great thing, a spectacle to go to. Now it's coming back a little. They just need to get some more southeastern flair in it, if you know what I mean. Not drivers from Nova Scotia and
Need some more chicken bones, don't they?
Chicken bones and beer, buddy. That's what NASCAR was built.
Moonshine drivers.
That's right, and that's what started the sport. You know your history. This past week, and this is going to build on what I was just talking about. Christopher Bell won the All-Star race in a Toyota. Toyota and NASCAR, that's just a different thing. You had Joey Logano in a Ford next, Ross Chastain in a Chevrolet, Alex Bowman in a Chevrolet, and Chase Elliott in a Chevrolet. Of course, Bill Elliott's son. And he was definitely in the golden era of NASCAR. So they're getting it back a little, a lot more competitive racing. I just wish I could see them getting back like where the cars look like cars. Look like the car that you drive on the road. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They got a unibody, and you put stickers on it to make it look like a Mustang. Or
Well, all of them look alike. I mean,
Yeah, it's a
Honda,
unibody.
Toyota,
Yeah, exactly.
Nissan, even the
Them
Tesla.
old Ford Wood Brothers 21s.
Yeah.
That was my dad. And
Now, they did win. They won the last 2 years,
Yeah,
the Wood Brothers. Yeah.
In fact, one of Richard Petty's 200 wins was right here in Onslow County, over 30 raceway over here.
That was a different era and the reason he won 200 races because they run 2 or 3 a week sometimes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this race was over off of Rocky Run Road. I heard it was a Tuesday night, and Richard Petty's one of his 200 wins is right here. But it just seemed like the cars. You can look at the area you're talking about with your dad. You can look on that track, and that's Monte Carlo.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Thunderbird.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Buick. That's a Regal. And it just had that look, just a whole different time.
I remember the day you could actually listen to a car engine and identify whether it was a Ford or a Chevrolet. Just listen to the motor.
Just had a little bit different sound. It's like being here in Onslow County, we can be walking around and you don't even have to look up. Super Stallion, Osprey, Cobra.
Oh, yeah.
Just by the sound of it,
Yeah.
And
Back then, it was the man making the engine. You had the same cars, but it was who was the man making the engine.
Yeah.
And then it came down with, all right, who's good with their hands and knows, how do you get that combustion? How do you get that torque and that power?
That's right.
And it was man-made, where now everything's, all computer and technology and fabricated and like the rest of society.
and during that same time you're talking about, there wasn't as much aero back then. No. Then all of a sudden Ford comes out with that rounded off Thunderbird.
Oh, yeah.
At about the same time, the Elliots figure out that I'll probably get them backwards. Motorheads out there like Ben Beasley's going to laugh at me. It was either the Ford Windsor or the Ford Cleveland. Everybody was running one or the other. Then the Elliott brothers from Dawsonville, Georgia, they figured out that the other one, they got more horsepower out of it. That combined with that slick Thunderbird they had, and man, they ruled the roost for
rolling.
That's when rules started changing, and and even really you can go back further to the Richard Petty days when they would have the wing and the front of the car look like a bullet,
Oh, yeah.
And to me, if it make it faster, make it faster.
They did away with that though.
Oh yeah, most stuff that is totally
The Super B.
Yeah, the super
Bird.
Superbird.
Yeah.
And the Thunderbird, with that, I think it was the Cleveland motor was the one that they got more horsepower. They end up banning that,
Yeah.
Make it where if you're faster, you win.
Yeah.
That's American competition.
That's right.
But NASCAR boys, this weekend they'll be at a track that we all know and love. That's me stalling till I find it. Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Right.
Memorial Day weekend. I don't know what I was thinking. That's the World 600 we used to call it. Then it was the Coca-Cola
Cola.
600.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure what the actual sponsor is this weekend, but it'll be at Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend. That's the one where on Sunday this weekend you'll sit there and start watching about 5 in the evening if you start watching it, and it'll end about 9 o'clock. It goes forever. Could you imagine driving 600 miles, not getting out of the car, and just right nose to tail the whole time?
I know. I ran that circle.
That's crazy, man. 600 miles. Of course, they do it a little faster than we do on the interstate with speeds. But so that means that also this weekend will be what? We don't normally cover it as much, but
Indianapolis 500.
Indianapolis 500. I heard a trivia thing the other day. It was a question on another radio station about something they were giving away, and you had to tell who was the first driver to do both in the same day. John Andretti was actually the first to attempt it. He did the Indy 500 because, the Andretti family, he was Mario Andretti's nephew.
Right.
He had been racing Indy cars, so he did in the morning. Either didn't complete all the laps or didn't complete all the laps in the World 600 that night, but he did both races. They had to put him in a helicopter, fly him to the airport, fly him out in a jet. He lands, and say he was qualified 5th in the stock car. He has to go all the way to the back because he missed the driver's meeting. Everyone that's ever done that double has had to do that. Isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. Do you by any chance know the only driver to complete all the laps in both races on the same day? Mm-hmm. Tony Stewart.
That's right.
Because he was an Indy driver too, Jeff Gordon did the same thing, but he didn't complete all the laps. So 1,100 miles in one day is what Tony Stewart drove in 2 race cars.
And those guys are really good athletes.
Oh, heck yeah.
When you sit in one of them NASCARs, it's 110, 115 degrees.
You talking about
3 or 4 hours.
changing gears and the footwork,
Oh,
their core strength has got to be, and they got a big
just
bladder.
passing out,
That's about almost.
Doggone
I
right.
think they
running-
actually got things now.
wow, yeah.
I
Running
think they can
close
take
to
care of that.
200
if they have
miles
to.
an hour, yeah.
But I imagine as much as they're sweating in there, they don't do a whole lot of
No.
peeing in there. Can I say pee on the radio?
We just did, so I guess it's all right.
But yeah, they'll be at Charlotte this weekend. I want to thank Onslow County Motor Company for sponsoring our racing report. I talked to Ben this morning, and they got, like I said, any car for your budget, any car for whatever you want down there. He's got a couple of trucks on the way coming. So check
Nice
out
fellas.
Onslow County
Just a
Motor Company.
bunch
They
of
are.
nice guys down there.
And they'll work with you to get whatever you need,
Yep.
car-wise, in your budget and everything. So go check them out at Onslow County Motor Company. Once again, thank them for sponsoring our racing report. Hollywood, how we doing on time? We got a little time in this segment left. A few minutes. All right, we can jump back into coaching then.
Yes, sir.
You had an explosive beginning at Wallace Rose Hill.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Was that the first year before you ever coached there? Did that happen?
I came in second semester, and I made it through second semester, lifting with the boys and getting ready. And then on Memorial Day weekend,
That's when it was?
I blew myself up, and then I stayed in burn center there for the next several good while. And then I got where I could get out and move around the end of July.
Did you actually catch on fire?
Melted my legs from my knee down and from my right arm, from my wrist to my elbow.
It was basically a volatile mixture of a little gasoline, some
An insect.
some
repellent.
insect
Spray-
like pellets type stuff.
Well, the insect spray was the accelerant.
That's
Well,
what
just
got it.
tell the
And then-
story, Coach. Just tell the story of what happened. It won't take you long.
And by the way, I knew that was Memorial Day weekend. That's why we had you on this weekend.
all right.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me. I got the scars and the grafts on my legs and the arms behind me, but I can't half feel them.
Well, tell everybody what not to do.
All right. Well, short version of it is my
The spider.
Yeah, my son loved this stump I had, and we had big old spiders that look like tarantulas, and so they're about that size. And so I sprayed the stump with our insect spray, covered it, doused it, drowned it in it. And then we had a couple weeks later a rain, and so I looked up underneath that stump, and I found there was a fire ant castle up underneath there. So I took 2 huge cups of fire ant pellets and dumped them down there. And then fast forward a couple more weeks, I ended up putting all the stuff I cut over Memorial Day weekend in the yard. We got 5 acres, and made a big old burn pile. And so I couldn't get it. We'd had some rain when I went to light it, and I put a little bit of fuel on there. But it wasn't the fuel that got me. The fuel got it going, but then what had happened is I guess it had run down and so the spray was the accelerant, and the pellets in confined places are highly explosive. And I was standing over 6 yards away, and it blew me 5.5 yards in the air.
Wow.
It shattered when my left shoulder hit the ground. It shattered.
you were lucky, man.
Oh no, God is great. He saved me for a reason. But they ended up cutting off 3 inches of my collarbone, fixing my left shoulder and doing all that good stuff, and putting my legs back together and my right arm, and God is great.
So why did they have to cut off the 3-inch of your collarbone? Because of the break in it?
It just, I separated, tore the muscle, the whole nine, everything in there. And so to get everything to work back in line, it was 2 inches and 3/4, but I don't do math, so I just say 3 inches.
Well, we all have had that moment at one time or another that, but for the grace of God, we wouldn't be here. Something so close to just being, and that was a bad enough, incident as it was, but being just a disaster,
Yeah.
And you're lucky, and like you said, you're blessed by the Lord.
That's just not knowing the mixture of the
Well, who
fire.
would? I mean,
who would have thought that, you know?
Yeah.
There's things that can happen in an instant. You see people out pumping gas, still smoking or on herself, and all it takes is that one fume, and next thing you know, you got a bad scene. You got like the Lamborghini burning out here on Western Boulevard that day. You remember that video? I'll find it for you. Show it to you. Some guy had a Lamborghini at the old the Walmart marketplace out there, near whatever that cut through is, Ramsey Road off of Western Extension. Yeah, and that was all over the news everywhere for a while.
Well, my house burned down in 2011 from something sort of that. I was in Jacksonville. It was
that weren't the time you were telling us about where you had the gasoline.
No. This is a different thing. My house burned up in 2011, August 17th. It was the hottest day of the year. I'd been down to the radio station here in Jacksonville till about 10 o'clock, and I had a Camry. And when I got home, I put my garage door down all the way because I'd had some trouble with some copperheads going in there and everything, So I really didn't pay no attention, but I got off 258. The muffler in that car was hot. My garage is full of lawnmowers, kerosene, 7 dust, fertilizer, and paint. Well, I'd been home about 30 minutes, and all of a sudden I heard something. And I had a little dachshund, and she's got a yip-yip bark and a real serious bark, and this was the serious bark. Yeah. Well, I went to the front door because I didn't know what that noise was, sounded like somebody banging on the side of my house. When I looked to the right, I could see the flame or the smoke coming out from under that garage door, and my car was in there. Yeah. So when I opened that garage door, it sounded like World War III and paint cans and stuff exploding. Yeah. So I only had time just to get my car out of there, take care of my dogs, but what happened was it being confined and that heat and off of that muffler on that car and everything, and the smoke just got together and what was in there and started a fire.
Storm. Things you wouldn't think about.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk more as we come back in the next segment, but we'll start it here now. Actually, we're going to head to our break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about your upcoming season.
Yes, sir.
Get things started. We'll be right back on Sports Talk. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. Co-host Ashley Moseley with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Coach Kevin Motsinger with us today from the Wallace Rose Hill Bulldogs.
Yes, sir.
We're getting ready to get all over the Bulldogs the rest of the show. We do want to do our hurricane watch. It was a tropical depression at the end of the season because the Canes were they knew they had the playoffs sewed up, and they kind of just, you know how it is, and like in the NFL, they'll take the last week off sometimes. Then it became a full-fledged hurricane watch. First round, the Canes jumped all over the New Jersey Devils, won 4-1 in that series. The last series against the Washington Capitals, and this is so great because I have relatives up there that we have a very unhealthy rivalry with the Caps and the Hurricanes. Hurricanes won 4-1 in the second round, so that means Eastern Conference Finals. You know what that means, Ashley?
Yeah.
That means trouble for the Canes. We have struggled in the Eastern Conference Finals, have lost the last 3 Eastern Conference Finals 4-0
Right.
each series. So there's something there. I love the Hurricanes. Rod Brind'Amour's the coach. He's just old school coach, but his system is, a lot of people have knocked it for being a regular season success and then something in the playoffs. Isn't it funny how you can get something that can get shut down in the playoffs? Lamar Jackson at Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
Great regular season, and for some reason, for one game, a team can come in and do something different, put a spy on him, whatever they do to kind of, stop him. And that's been the Hurricanes' lot, unfortunately, in the Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, the only team in North Carolina, the only pro team to win a world title. They won the Stanley Cup in 2006. But since then, this is their 4th Eastern Conference Finals, and like I said, the other 3 0-12. Not just losing, but getting swept in all 3. I mean, the last one was to the Panthers, which is the team they're playing now. So Canes got to get it together. Lost the first game pretty badly at home. Had a couple of players out, though. Jalen Chatfield and Jordan Martin. They're kind of 2 of their enforcers. And the Panthers are more of a physical type team. So I'm hoping getting them back, in the groove again in the playoffs will kind of help equalize the series. Bottom line is you had home ice advantage. The Canes would have had 4 games at home if it went the full 7, and the Panthers would have had 3. But now you've lost that because of the loss, at home. So we'll see if they can get back together this weekend. And you said you've never been to one, right?
No, sir.
Dude, you got to go with us one time. We'll try. Everybody comes on. How many people we got lined up to go to a hockey game? 643.
We'll probably have to hold it at Bristol.
Well, we'll just have to tell them we'll have a corporate event. We'll just have the stadium for the game. Yeah. But every now and then we get some we can't use or something. I'll let you know, man. You'd enjoy it. Your background in football and being just how I know you have been in sports, you're just all into it. Oh man, when you see it, it's wide open.
I just want to see them fight. I ain't gonna lie. I don't care if they score.
Ashley has a famous saying about that.
Yeah, I went to a hockey game.
No.
I went to a fighting hockey game. Broke out.
Yeah.
But they didn't fight at the game we went to.
No, they didn't, but they played well that game.
Yeah, they did.
A buddy of mine owns the Redneck Barbecue Lab, Jerry Stevenson, and he had his tickets right behind the glass. He has actually a barbecue lab in Lenovo Center now. He done good with barbecue now. And we're going to talk about barbecue, too, in a minute. You know what I'm talking about. But we got his seats right behind the glass. We were right there. We could have if it weren't for that plexiglass, I could have give, advice to the coach. You never had advice on the sidelines, have you?
No, all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
So we were there, and, man, just to see those dudes that are 6'5", and then they get on them skates, makes them about 7 foot tall, and to move like they do, as big as they are.
Oh, yes.
Man, them guys get after it. And just imagine in football, you get blindsided, but there's a wall on the other side of you when you get blindsided.
That's right.
All the time. You've seen enough of it to know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But we'll get you into it. We'll get to a game. I doubt playoffs because those are a little pricey. I saw some going. The section we sat in are going for about $2,000 a piece. $2,000 on. I mean, they're resale tickets. All these major sports frowned for years on scalping tickets, and now they do it on their websites.
Oh, yeah.
Go to the Panthers game. Well, okay, that might be a bad example. They're going for less than list price right now, the Carolina Panthers. But a team that's really hot, you get a ticket will be 3 times what they paid for it. And it's so funny because for years they, you could get locked up for scalping tickets.
It was illegal.
Yeah, now they do it on their own website.
It's like everything else. Rules are just suggestions.
Until the money gets involved. Who was it that was in here the other day? And just about everything we started talking about, the problems in sports, he did this. It's the money.
Oh, that was Steve Clark. The
Yeah.
Richland. He said the
All
answer
about
is
money.
money. Now, what's the question?
Yep.
And Ashley, you had a a banker friend of yours say a great phrase. He said,
Oh,
he said, "Hey Ashley, it's not about the money. It's all about the money."
All
That's
about the
right.
money.
Ain't
With
about
everything-
money.
everything in
that's
life,
right.
man.
Yeah, that's right.
We want to thank Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning, Jason Humphrey, and the gang for sponsoring our Hurricane Watch. Kane's going to pick it up this weekend. I feel it. Going to get back in it. Going to get to the Stanley Cup. And then we're going to take that company credit card and max it out and sit by that glass. How about that?
4-0 again.
He threw the siren on me because I
4-0
started talking
again.
about the prize. Yeah. All right, we'll be
4-0.
right back on Sports Talk. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor, co-host Ashley Moseley. Our honored guest today, did I say Moseley? Ashley Moseley. Our honored guest today, Kevin Motsinger, head Bulldog. We're going to talk about all Bulldogs the rest of the show after this day in sports. All this stuff happened on a May 23rd at some time or another. Some of it will generate a little discussion. Some of it will be boring, so we'll just go with it. Hollywood does a good job of getting us the good ones, though. All right, the first one up is 1873. We were talking about the Preakness earlier.
Right.
The first Preakness Stakes. G. Barbie aboard Survivor wins at, 2 minutes, 43 seconds at Pimlico Racecourse in Baltimore. I don't know who G. Barbie was, but that's the first Preakness, man, 1873. They were racing horses a long time, hadn't they?
Yes, sir.
All right, you got the next one, Coach.
1926, the Chicago Cubs' Hack Wilson is first to hit a home run off a Wrigley Field scoreboard.
So he's in history forever. Y'all ever been to Wrigley Field before?
No, sir.
I went on a tour while we were up there for a ball game one time for a Notre Dame Carolina game football, and the bleachers out in the outfield all have the dents still on them. They don't try to fix them. It's just part of the whole. The bleacher bums are out there during the game, so they're gonna be catching them. But I guess when they hit BP, there's dents all over the place. All right, Ashley.
I'm going to skip 1932. I mean, that's just too much figuring for
That's
me.
a lot of numbers.
It really is. 1935, the first scheduled Major League Baseball game at night was postponed due to rain in Cincinnati, Ohio.
First rain out. In 1941, in his 20th World Heavyweight Boxing title defense, Joe Louis knocks out Buddy Bear in round 1 at New York's Madison Square Garden. And I think, if I remember correct, you know who Buddy Bear's son is?
Now, Max Bear was his brother.
Jethro. Yeah, the one. Okay,
Still
that's
living.
who I'm trying to think of.
Right.
Jethro from the old Beverly Hillbillies.
yeah. Right.
I knew there was some connection with a boxer, so I assumed that was it.
Yeah.
All right.
1948, future Baseball Hall of Famer center fielder Joe DiMaggio hits 3 consecutive home runs as the New York Yankees edge the Indians 6-5 at Cleveland Stadium.
Okay, you were more of a football guy, but when you were growing up, you knew about baseball
Oh,
cards.
yeah. Mickey
You knew
Mantle,
about-
Joe DiMaggio.
You weren't around when Joe DiMaggio was playing, but you know about it.
Oh, heck yeah.
The kids nowadays don't know the
Mr.
history of
Coffee.
baseball like they used to. Huh?
Mr. Coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Splendid Splinter.
Married to Marilyn Monroe.
He had all kinds of
For a year.
a little outside interest going on, yeah.
All right, 1964, Dale Gregg runs the female marathon in a world record time of 3 hours, 27 minutes, and 45 seconds.
So this was before all the trans stuff we got going on nowadays. So I'm assuming Dale was a lady.
She was definitely
I
a
hope-
lady.
yeah.
Yeah. Didn't have that mess back then. What? And I'm gonna hit the elephant in the room. What is the latest on that in North Carolina? It's basically by birth only that
Yes.
they can compete. Okay.
Yes.
And that's just because a lot of people had asked about that
Oh,
before.
yeah. Yes,
so we
sir.
wanna get that out there. It's different in different states, but here in North Carolina, they
That's
still
the craziest
got a little
thing
common
I've ever heard
sense.
of in my life.
Man, when I saw that video of that boxer that was,
Oh, yeah.
killing them girls, and one of them just quit.
She wouldn't fight him. I don't blame her.
I don't blame her. It's just nuts.
What is wrong with people?
All right, in 1968, which was a very, very good year, a lot of great things happened that year. I know one for me, at least.
Dark and stormy night.
Yeah, dark and stormy night.
Raynor came into the world.
AC Milan of Italy won its 8th European Cup Winners' Cup against Hamburger. That's my team right there. Hamburger, baby. SV of West Germany in Rotterdam. So I'm assuming that's soccer. I'm not a huge soccer guy, but I've got to where I know a little bit about the sports. I know that Chelsea plays for some team in Europe, and she's pretty good. All right, Coach.
1978, AL approves transfer of Red Sox to Gene Yawkey for $15 million.
Would you like to be able to, I would go out and sell everything I got and find every donor I could find if I could raise $15 million and buy the Red Sox.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, the guy on the Baltimore football team or Indianapolis Colts just passed away, Jim Irsay.
Yeah, Jim Irsay, the longtime owner of the Colts. Was he the one that took them from Baltimore in the middle
His
of the night?
dad, Bob Irsay. took
Dad,
him away
okay.
from over there. All right, 1981, Puerto Rican boxer Wilfred Benitez, at age 22, becomes the youngest 3-division world champion in history by knocking out WBC World Super Welterweight champion Maurice Hope in 12 rounds in Las Vegas. And by the way, Wilfred Benitez was the youngest champion. He won his first championship when he was only 17 years old.
Well,
Now, do you know, that, Coach, that we have a former world heavyweight champion getting ready to be lined up to be on this show?
who's that?
You probably guess.
Magnolia.
From your area out there, yeah.
Oh, what's his
Bone
name?
Crusher.
Bone
Yeah,
Crusher,
yeah.
yes. I had to think about it.
Had him on the phone the other day on here, and I told him, I said, my daddy taught me 2 things. Never play cards with a man who has a city in his name, and don't get in a ring with somebody named Bone Crusher.
Crusher, amen to that.
So when we go do that one, if you're up that way and you're interested,
That's
come on
awesome.
by.
Top golf, crab legs.
Yep. Yeah, because he's
Be a
Myrtle
lot of
Beach
fun,
now.
won't it?
That'd be a good day. Is it my turn?
Yep.
Okay, I get sidetracked easy. 2001, Marco Sefridi becomes the first person to snowboard down Mount Everest. Wow. Down Mount Everest via the Norton Coyer, whatever that is. Some share record accreditation with Stefan Gatt. Last time I checked, Mount Everest has probably got a pretty good decline on it. Dude, he had to be flying.
Oh, they drop him out of helicopter.
Oh yeah, he didn't scale it up and then start coming down, but
Yeah.
that ain't no ski lift yet.
I'm not jumping out of a helicopter unless I got a rope and
I'm
an
getting
M16
I'm
on
not
strapped to
getting
my
on the
back.
helicopter. I'm not even getting on one. Drop like an animal.
Oh,
My daddy was in the army, and they put him. He had to jump out and stuff like that. And he said, first of all, why would I leave the ground to start with? But second of all, if that plane's running good, why do I want to jump out? Out of a perfectly good airplane.
that's right.
Yeah.
2010 NHL Western Conference Finals. The Chicago Blackhawks beat San Jose Sharks 4-0.
And we hope that doesn't happen again anytime soon for us.
2013, Patrick Roy.
Very good.
Is
You got
named,
it, man.
is named head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, his former team where he won 2 Stanley Cups.
If I had never heard it before, I'd say Patrick Roy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's Wah somehow. It must be a French thing. All right, in 2018, NFL owners approved the new NFL national anthem policy whereby players are required to stand if they choose to be on the field for pregame presentations. That should be a no-brainer in my opinion. But I didn't know they actually had come out with a policy on it.
Yeah.
I thought they just kind of got where they cut away and didn't show it like they used to.
That's when they started finding people, and everybody started revolting, and that's where it really blew up, and they took the fines.
And as we've seen, sports, most times people just, when they're paying that hard-earned money, they just want to see you play football. Yeah. It ain't the time to, of course, Colin Kaepernick, hadn't been back in sports since. Same thing with, Shedeur Sanders, a different reasoning. But, I mean, if you're going to play football, play football. Yeah. And that's why he dropped.
Well, that's one reason I feel like a lot of people have not got tuned into the new professional football league that's going on right now.
It's good.
Just like Live. Yeah, but you got people, they have diluted the seriousness of the game to me. I mean, when you're sitting over here talking to a player on the bench and everybody's got to be a part of it. Same thing with Live and playing with shorts and, it just don't have the same intensity.
Yeah, the Live looks like something. It looks like a scramble down in Myrtle Beach somewhere they're playing or something. Yeah. Did I have the last one?
It was me. 2021 PGA Championship Men's Golf Ocean Course, Kauai Island. Phil Mickelson becomes oldest major winner in history at age 50. He wins his 6th major by 2 strokes over Brooks Koepka, Koepka, and Louis Oosthuizen.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Oosthuizen.
Something like that, yeah. I wish that record would have been broken a few years before. That year that Tom Watson was like 56 or something.
He had a good chance to.
He had it won.
He was 59.
Had it won, but he gets a little pumped up on the last hole, hits a 6 instead of a 7. Hits a 7-iron.
Over the green, he puts it, knocks it about 10, 12 feet.
And still tied, but had to go to the playoff, and he was out of gas by then. Man, I would have loved to see him win that game, though, or that match, because that major, because just, what he was and what he meant to the game of golf. In your opinion, before we leave golf, do you play golf?
Used to. It's been many years.
Pasture pool, as my cousin calls it.
I never understood the game because after I hit it and I finally found it, they wanted me to hit it again.
Yeah, I found it. It's the same thing with a long drive contest. When I was younger, I could crank one, but it wasn't necessarily straight. No. And I think a long drive contest should be from the center of a circle. And you just hit it wherever it goes, like a bullseye out.
Well, you know what Sam Snead said about long hitters, don't you?
There's a lot of them in them woods.
He said the woods is full of them.
Yeah, that's right.
If I was going to look for copperheads and water moccasins, I'm going to hope to catch a fish at the end of that trip.
Now, see, you'd have been one of them guys that took them little brim busters with you in your bag.
Heck yeah.
My dad used to have one, and he'd get on that hole, he'd telescope it, pop that thing right out, put it back, go on to the next hole. Yeah. He loved fishing while he was on the golf course. And they're out there. That's all the stuff that happened on May 23rd, all the important stuff in sports history. Let's jump into you. Have you got your schedule right here? Actually, I've got it. You sent it to me, so I'll pull it up and kind of ask you about it as we go.
Yeah, what kind of team you going to have this year, Coach?
You start right out of the gate with, is it East Duplin?
Yes, sir.
And for years in the same conference, but not anymore,
That's going to be a battle across the river. That's going to be a big deal, and we're actually doing a lot of things to they're talking about having a trophy. Between the since we're not in the conference.
First game is with East Duplin.
Yes, sir.
At your place or
yes, at our place.
It's okay. I see they're orange now for the Hunters.
Okay. We're actually going to do a half and half, kind of like what Tuscola and Pisgah do in the mountains, and so and make it to help both programs and kind of. With everything going on and prices going up, we're going to do a big 50-50 where it's going to be online, so anybody anywhere can get involved in that.
Oh yeah.
You were talking about you never been to the Hill to watch a football game and the Wall and everything else. If you go into that one, get there early because you won't be able to fit a toothpick in that stadium.
Yeah.
It's I've been, God has blessed me more ways than I ever deserved, but from a football standpoint, I was at Hoover High School in Hoover, Alabama, and we played Vestavia Hills. And at that time, Sports Illustrated, that was the number 6 biggest rivalry in the nation.
Really?
And then, New Hanover and Hoggard, that's a big one, and it's kind of died down. But back when I was there, but I've never in my life seen anything like when the two of us get together. It is an absolute crock pot.
Yep.
I mean, it really is. And
Well, you and East Stupid?
when we, yes, sir.
No question
When,
about
when,
it. I mean,
with the pressure,
we were privileged to cover that one game. Just I think it was it it was overtime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just back and forth, and both teams. Neither team deserved to lose that game.
Well, so what? You know, getting back to the history last year, somebody went for a 2-point conversion, wasn't it?
That was the year
Yeah,
before.
that was the year
Yeah.
before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a game that you won't need a team to lose. You just want to go on forever.
We
But,
always have Rangers put together a little contest every year, prognosticators, where we pick different football games. You know, and everybody has to meditate on East Stupid and Wallace Rose Hill. I mean, a lot of thought goes into that because it's that close.
Yep, it's a tough rivalry. Now, looking at the schedule too,
I just.
I want to tell you one thing too about going. If you can go to that game, that'd be a great one to go to. If you aren't covering the Cardinals that night. The thing I love about, we sit on the visitor side, when Southwest goes, of course, and the press box.
Yeah.
We call it the Chinese food box. You know what I'm talking about? Because
yeah.
it goes up at an angle like this.
Yeah.
It looks just like those little cartons you get at the Chinese food restaurant.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Dale Overman Field, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, does Mr. Murphy still sit down under the scoreboard about every game?
We got a pile of them, yes, sir. They got a lot of folks that sit and they got their spot, and I pity the fool that wants to go sit and put a chair where a lot of these folks had their chair for a long time.
Well, remind me if I forget when we get to James Keenan on the schedule to tell you a Wendell Murphy, James Keenan story. You probably know what I'm talking about.
What kind of team you gonna have this year, Coach?
I tell you,
Undefeated, baby, 10-0, right?
we're undefeated right now.
But that's the goal. That's what
right.
you shoot for. You want to win every game.
That's right. We lost the whole offensive line. So we've got a couple guys coming back, but they're going to be playing different positions. We'll have a new tight end. We lost Irvin Brown, who graduated early. He's Ohio University.
He's a Bobcat.
And a Bobcat, and finished spring, did great. Finished with all A's in his classes. And he's the number 3 running back on their depth chart coming out of spring, and they feel like that as soon as he understands and learns the plays better, he's going to be their number 2.
So you graduated in December and enrolled early,
Yes,
so you
sir.
go and get
Yes, sir.
a head start, which is great. I'm all for that. The other crap and transfer portal and all that stuff, we ain't even get started on that because we'll be here forever. And I want to talk about your schedule. But that where they go early, that shows a lot of moxie on those kids' part to be able to get up there, start college a little early, be available for spring ball, and that really helps them, I think, for that first year.
Truth be told, if you're not prepared to do that, it's going to cost you scholarships. Because a lot of these guys, when they come in, like Irvin, if he couldn't have went early, they probably would have took another kid.
Yeah, pass on.
And I mean, that's the biggest thing. We try to talk to parents, and when we see those kids coming to 9th grade, we try to prepare that they have that opportunity. Because with recruiting now, for a high school kid, if they can't get them early, then they're probably going to take a portal kid and go ahead and get somebody there in spring.
And who would have ever thought the portal would be recruited before high school kids nowadays? Because you got them already ready to roll,
Yeah.
All right, your second game up, the mighty Kinston Vikings.
Yes, sir.
And in some years, people would have been a punchline and a joke. But dude, they went.
They beat
to the
Wallace Rose Hill last year, didn't they?
No, sir.
No, they beat
sir.
y'all, but they went to the Eastern Finals, didn't they, or Eastern semifinals?
That's semifinals.
Yeah.
Wyville beat them.
Wyville, yeah.
And I think that is a great testament to that East Central Conference.
No, it was North Lenore that beat Wallace Rose
Yeah,
Hill last year.
we got upset by North Lenore, and
That's who it was.
that killed us. If we'd have won that game, we'd have got the number 2 seed, and we'd have been in that southern bracket. And I feel like
That's the bracket they came out of.
Yeah.
What happened in Lenore? I mean, they blessed your horse. I mean,
On any
everybody
given
around
night, if things don't.
you want the truth.
I don't know whether I had it or not.
The thoughts and comments of Kevin Motsinger, not necessarily. Okay, go ahead.
No,
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
no. I mean, we didn't come. We got arrogant, and we didn't come to play.
got
We're everybody's Super Bowl. They
Took them
don't
for granted, I guess.
Yep, and then I mean, I'll be honest with you, the ball didn't bounce our way that night. Even at the end, we come back and I mean, we threw the ball, had it wide open, bam, hit him, dropped it. I mean, it was a perfect storm, and they built a statue for their coach after the game, and it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did. And,
Like the Pat Bird statue they put up.
I jumped all
3-0
over
against Southwest.
Yeah.
I jumped all over that North Lenore Hawk bandwagon when I said, man, they beat Wallace Rose Hill. I mean, they're going
Well,
to go
you're
to
from
the state
that.
championship.
You're near that Wheat Swamp area up there,
Yeah,
aren't
they're
you?
right around
Isn't that what's called
yeah.
Wheat Swamp?
Wheat Swamp.
Wheat
yeah.
Swamp. We were talking about the East Central, and you've been in state championship runs. You won a state championship as coach and everything. You have to have a little luck.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of talent and a lot of tough playing in the playoffs. not having injuries, but there's always one game where something. If sometimes it goes against you, you don't win a state championship. Sometimes it goes with you, and you do win. So
Raynor, you know
there's
what?
a lot to it.
I'd have hated to had to go to practice if I was playing football at Wallace Rose Hill. I'd have hated to been to that practice Monday after that Friday night.
I imagine it was
I was
intense.
sort of tough, I'm sure.
So you got Kinston on the road, the second game.
Yes.
You got Clinton, that's on the road also. What is going on with Clinton? Are they going to be back this year?
They've got the folks. I mean, they're always going to
Well,
have
obviously
the
new
folks.
coach, I guess, because their coaches all went to South Carolina, didn't they?
Well,
now, will they have the same guy that was there last year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now
he
the-
walked into a pure hornet's
Oh,
nest.
yeah. And the guy, Coach Johnson took a lot of players with him to South Carolina.
you can do that?
No, that's why he got in so much trouble, and that's why Marlboro County had to forfeit all their games in South
And
Carolina.
when I saw that just, I'm sorry. But that just tickled me because they were stacking.
Oh, yeah.
Not only coaches, you can hire whoever you want to, but they were purging coaches, players. You're not supposed to go across state lines, and that's the Mann Act. You know?
Well, look what happened at Clinton.
Yeah.
Nothing happened to him. And I'm not, Gieselman at Kinston's a great guy and I love him to death, but, Kinston's situation, they had 12 players come in and on that team. The quarterback came from D.H. Conley.
Yeah.
They had 2 wide receivers.
It was like
come
open
in.
borders, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now from the word on the street is they got like 15, 16 new players going to be there for next year because they were all part of that 7-on-7 team.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing all this stuff, and the state's not done anything about it.
So are these players actually moving?
No,
or
it's the treasurer.
living in another county? And
No.
Oh, no, we won't go there.
No.
All right, we're moving on to the next game.
No, we're not.
You got to.
No, we're not.
Okay,
It's
go
the
ahead.
high school portal is what it is.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
high school transfer portal.
And there's been some of that in the years, but back in years like say, and I'm not gonna say it didn't happen in Onslow County. Southwest
you are.
Southwest had an auto tech thing. Jacksonville currently has the AP, what's it called, a baccalaureate or whatever. Northside had Air Force ROTC. It's not that they were recruiting, but these kids could say, I want to go play for Bob Easton and Northside. They got Air Force ROTC. You get in the program and you do it the right way. If you do that, I have no problem with it. It's the ones that live on one highway in Onslow County and go to a school in another county, or vice versa, live here in Greene County, and next thing you know, they're at Kinston High School. Or I'm not saying that, but as an example, and that's just not the right way to do it.
No, they really.
All right, we're going to jump into you next. We got 3 away games in a row.
Yes,
You said you only have 4 home games, and that's kind of your scheduling thing for the new conference. You got Pender at Pender Lee, we call it, out there.
I remember that.
You go to the end of Earth, hanging right. It's right out there.
Yes, sir.
What's Pender going to be like this year?
I know they lost all 3 running backs. They had a sophomore quarterback that I thought was better than the kid they had at starting quarterback athletically, just from what I saw last year from us playing them and breaking down film. They're always going to have – they've got so much talent.
They always have athletes.
Oh, they got athletes. And then what Coach Eanes does with that flex bone, they're going to be physical and they're going to get after you.
Coach who?
Coach Eanes.
Is he still there?
Yes, sir.
Now, did he leave after the 2010
And then
teams
came
he
back.
had?
He's
I
been-
thought-
yeah, he's
I thought
been
he had
back.
lived. I didn't know he was back.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's been back for several years.
Okay. Then you got first conference game at home against Goldsboro.
Yes, sir.
Do they still make you kick the extra points at one end?
No,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No,
There's one end that used to
yeah.
they kick the extra points.
when it go in the street.
They
the
still
ball
do.
never returned.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like a place where somehow it just
Do you know what
disappeared.
is sad? What's happening at school? They don't even have a JV team.
Their field, and I'm not knocking anybody, but just saying the obvious, their field was terrible. Last time we were there, it was just awful. I could see rolled ankles and
We were in a conference with them when I first came to Wallace. We were in a conference with them and played them. And then there was several years there that we played them. We'd have to see them in the playoffs too.
wow. Now with the new realignment, what will you guys be 4 or 5?
We're going to be 3A.
3. Okay, 3 or
sir.
4. That's
Yeah.
what I mean.
Is
All right.
Elvin James still the coach at Golden?
No, he passed away, I believe. He passed away.
So we're gonna, as we go through your conference teams, we're gonna hit each one of them what they'll be to. I assume Goldsboro will be 3A.
Yes, sir.
Because
Every-
hard to believe they used to be big time 4A and then down
What's
to 1A
happening everywhere?
before
You
the
know, you
thing.
had them in schools. I mean,
They lost a
yeah,
lot of
well,
to
yeah.
them
Well, I
other
was at
schools.
New Hanover. We played Goldsboro, and we were 4A, and
Yeah.
they were 3A. And that was where the boy that went to Alabama, and now is with Seattle. Oh, what's his name? Defensive tackle. And they had him, and they had another boy who's just as good as him.
Oh, yeah.
They were loaded.
And it's like Jacksonville. For years, they were big time 4A or big numbers 4A, but you got Northside pulled from them. Southwest years ago pulled from them. And it's just the way it is. The new schools come in and they draw some of their attendance. Goldsboro's been hurt big time by that. Now they're the Cougars now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was they used to be? The Quakes?
Earthquakes.
Earthquakes.
Goldsboro
Because the
earthquake.
old,
There used to be the Wilson
the,
Cyclone.
the historical Goldsboro earthquake years ago, and they were named the Quakes. All right. Moving on to Princeton. Now that's going to be a whole different animal.
That's another Bulldog, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Another Bulldog. Turf Field. You'll be at Princeton. I know you're coaching, but if you get a chance, go over and get one of them pork chop sandwiches.
I've heard that, but
'Cause,
we
man.
played them several times. We beat them in the Eastern Championship
Yep.
that year, or no, the third round. I don't remember. We've played them several times in the playoffs, and I've heard they got an amazing pork chop
Oh, yeah,
sandwich.
they got very good concessions, good booster group,
yeah.
feels good. They got awesome facilities,
Oh,
I'll
they
give you
do.
that.
They
And
do.
good program. They were so good in 1A that they made them bump up to 2A because they were winning the Wachovia Cup like it was going out of style for all the different sports.
Well, that area's growing too real fast. It's not that far from Raleigh, It's just like Jacksonville.
Until they
is right now.
bypass it,
Yeah.
eventually. Now, what is Princeton going to be, 3 or 4?
Everybody in our conference is 3A except Rosewood. Rosewood is 2A.
Really?
Everybody in ours is 3A, and they added Rosewood because Rosewood petitioned. They didn't want to drive all the way to East and West Columbus and all that stuff, and so they'll be the only 2A in our conference. Everybody else is 3A.
Now, the next one up is Midway. They're 3A also.
And
That's
they're-
at Spivey's Corner.
Yes, sir.
The Hollering
A lot of
Cavaliers.
hollering going on down there. They got a tight end that has got a lot of offers. They got a running back that's really fast and good size.
Now, what schools is Spivey's Corner?
Midway.
Midway. Okay.
Yes,
They're
sir.
the Raiders, right?
Yes, sir.
Next up, and I want to ask you about your conference too. It's a 7-team conference, right?
Yes, sir.
Don't you hate that? If you have 8, then you don't have that bye week within the conference. It looks like your bye week though is the first week, though,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So
Ours
that
is
worked
first.
out good for y'all.
Well, maybe. You never know until after it's over.
True, but the standard thing, like say you had an 18 conference or a 16 conference, non-conference, bye conference,
Yeah.
and so you kind of fell into that with the week you have off. But
Yes.
like you said, then again, if you're banged up into the year,
Yes, sir.
it might be nice to have. I don't. Who would want to have the last week non-conference or bye week? I wouldn't.
no.
Not going to the playoffs. So many times you lose that rhythm.
Well, this year, if we finish in the top 8 for all, not for the 8A schools,
Yeah.
the 8A schools are going to have 2 weeks open in the playoffs. Not sure as far as
Really?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And-
because there's not as many of them. That's
and
right.
then like for us, and like in Southwest and the 3A, 4A schools, we're going to have the top 8 teams have an open week. I'm not happy
I'm
about
not a
that.
huge fan of a bye.
No.
We saw in Major League Baseball a couple years ago, the top 4 teams in the entire major league all had a bye, all lost.
Oh, yeah.
In their first series because
You got to
out
get
of the
hot.
rhythm.
You got to get hot. You got to get some momentum.
Well, I'm gonna say this. You won't say it, but I'm gonna say it. You got to buy the next week, Spring Creek. Sorry, but they just are what they are. Spring Creek at home, and that's no knock on y'all. That's a knock on them. I mean, Spring Creek just has never quite got that football thing going. Where
They
is
don't have
Spring
that.
Creek?
It's
Outside
right
Goldsboro?
No, it's right. Yeah, it's Highway 111 south of Goldsboro,
Yeah.
right at Seven Springs. They just don't have the numbers there, man. I
The
feel bad.
Gators.
The Gators, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll pick it up. I mean, they're going to have to pick it up in this conference. Baptism by fire, 'cause y'all got some pretty good
ever
teams.
see them picking it up.
Rosewood, I can't say that as a stallion and not do this. I don't know if you know the history there, but 1990, Marcus Jones, All-American as a high school player, committed to Carolina. He ended up playing for the Buccaneers, undefeated. Phil Padgett's greatest team ever, lost first round to Rosewood. Just one of them games where, like you're talking about, if you ain't careful, they'll bite you.
Oh, yeah.
And they were good. They ended up playing for the Eastern Finals.
Yeah.
And that was back before, of course, you had 87 teams in the playoffs. But still, Rosewood, they're the Eagles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How are they going to be this year?
They've got tons of talent. We played them a couple years ago after COVID, and we were just scrambling to find games. If something canceled. And they are very physical. They'll get after you. They got tons of athletes, and I think they can go a long way in 2A.
And
Is Goldsboro home or away?
Home.
it's home. Their first game at if that ends up
okay.
being an open day, that'd be a good one for us to go to there. And I'll show you all the amenities of Legion Stadium,
I got you.
including Highway 55 right across the street.
Yeah.
Get you a burger before it
I got
starts. We'll finish up with James Keenan, and I'll tell you my James Keenan story. That'll be on the road, and that could very well be a game for conference title implications. Don't you see it?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
You two are definitely going to be in the mix. Those two teams.
They
Who's their
should be
coach
pretty
now?
good this year, too.
Sir?
James Keenan, pretty good this year.
Oh, yeah. They're loaded. They're loaded. Tim
Is-
Grady's the head coach.
Okay. The James Keenan story is, you've been to James Keenan, obviously, you know the field and everything where it's at. We're there one night, Eastern Finals, 2012. they keep making this hokey announcement about how the Tiger mascot is held up in Raleigh at some event and won't be able to make the game, and they're panicking, and we're like, who's talking about this? And all of a sudden, this helicopter lands in the middle of the field, and the Tiger mascot jumps out, and everybody goes nuts. Well, including our boys. It ticked them off to have to warm up on the soccer field behind. Yeah. That's why they did it, because they knew it was coming, you know. Yeah. And so, funny story, it was Wendell Murphy's helicopter. Right. And so they got a pretty heavy-duty FAA penalty because you just don't land a helicopter in the middle of a football field.
Oh, the Murphys do.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not calling you a liar. I don't believe that they might have put it in paper that they find him, but I find it hard to believe, sir, that he
I'm not lying about it because I heard that, but I'm with you. I think it possibly didn't. Not actually paid.
Yes, sir.
But Mr. Murphy is he's been great at those Dupin County schools, all of them. Yeah. You have River Landon and all that stuff because of Wendell Murphy, and Wendell Murphy is known for raising hogs. Yeah. I remember River Landon one time we were playing this plush course that we were told you couldn't even have a pickup truck in your parking lot, and I remember seeing a hog coming down one of the fairways because he'd gotten out. Yeah. So it's so funny, but leading into that, what is your conference going to be called this year?
Swine Valley
Football Conference. Swine Valley Conference.
They did great, man.
Isn't that awesome? That's a great name.
We're struggling with it because we feel like it kind of offends the chicken folks in the House of Rayford and Mr. Johnson.
And they're a big sponsor for y'all.
Yeah. So for us, I like it, to be honest with you. Everybody I've talked to, they either absolutely hate it or they love it, or there's not much. But
Let's Geechee is something different.
Well, it's something different. If you look at where all the money comes from, it's not just pigs, but you got chicken, but it's farming, it's something farming related, and that's the biggest thing I tell everybody. Don't get your feathers ruffled if you're a chicken person and over a pig person, but
don't get your snout in the line.
That's about it. Yeah, but it's about farming and agriculture, and that's all the schools we're in. That's what it's about.
Yeah, sure.
It's football's pigskin. So
that's true. And it's a cool name. It reminds me a lot of the minor league teams' names.
That's right.
They don't go for just like so and so and so. They go for the Pork Valley,
Mudcats.
Mudcats. Hollywood, I think, was with us. We gonna carry the East Stupid football game, and they were playing some team from up in west part of the state. I don't remember who it was. But we were at the Peach Village eating, and some folks from that team from the west were in there eating also. And they were talking about how these boys down here couldn't play football. They were hog farmers, cow farmers, and everything. Yeah, they got the hat handed to them too.
Yes, sir.
And it's funny because these communities love their football team.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot. You've seen the video for Boys of Fall.
Oh yeah,
and it's talking about the stuff posted on the wall. And one quick story before we go: went to Bryson City. Me and my bride. We were just there visiting. Went to Cherokee and all that stuff. And it was right after we had beaten Swain County for the state championship in 2012. And I walk in there and I have on a Southwest Onslow State Championship T-shirt. And there's a guy and he's fully decked out in Maroon Devils. He's the Swain County older guy, 100%, just like me now, And he said, Southwest Onslow, where's that at? And I said, we're up down on the coast. He says, well, what? I ain't never heard of it. What division are y'all? I said, we're 4A. He went, I thought Southwest Onslow was 2A. All of a sudden, he'd heard of it. He knew everything about it. He just was being a
Phil
little.
Paget always talked about those guys in the mountains up there. He said he would swear that they were some of them were 20, 21 years old. Coming out of the hills.
And one shout out I'll give to them when our quarterback drowned years after he won state championship. That coach and their staff sent flowers and did a lot of great things and just a class program out there. And that's why they are what they are.
That's right.
All right, we're going to wind it up. Anything else you want to tell us about Bulldog football before we go?
Just, all those people listening, I think football is more important now than it's ever been. I think it's the only true discipline we have left in high school for our youth. And, things get tougher and tougher, but these kids can't play without fans, without officials.
That's right.
And, I know prices are going up and everything's getting harder and harder, but we need to come out and really support. And it doesn't matter, I'm talking all schools, every school. These kids need a positive. The world and society, their phone gives them enough negative. Everybody wants to talk about mental health. Well, let's love these kids up. Let's come out and support them. Support, it win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's not about whether you win or lose, how you play the game. But our kids need you. They need your support. They need you to
agree.
come out and show that you care, because the village is dead, people, and we got to get it back. It takes a village to raise these kids, and we've got to rebuild the village and come back support these
And
children.
in playing football, you learn lessons for life.
Amen.
It teaches you everything.
Amen.
And we look forward to your season, Coach. Maybe try and get you back on there over the summer. We're going to try and do a round robin of coaches. What we usually do is get one or two coaches together, so it's a little more talk. So we're going to wind up here and get you guys on your way. I want to thank our sponsors before we go. National Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, CNS Paint, Ron Choate and Victor Case, Golden Corral, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, Jones Onzo EMC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative, Jones LP Gas located in Verona. Once again, $11 cylinder refill today. Southern Touch Painting, Fountain Management, Onzo County Motor Company, Barnes Diamond Gallery, Lane Associates Family Dentistry, Bartley Insurance Services, Bill Mercer, and Humphrey Heating and Air Conditioning. Thanks to Helen's Kitchen and Billy Grissett. We're going to jump all over those Billy Bowls before you leave. Hurricane Watch is powered by Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning. Pray for the Canes this weekend that they'll get it back underway. And Racing Report is powered by Onzo County Motor Company. Ben Beasley and the gang, and we got to get out of here. So
Happy Memorial
Thank you,
Day,
everything.
everybody. Be safe and remember those that didn't forget us this
that paid
Memorial
the
Day.
ultimate sacrifice. Thank you, Ashley Moseley, for being with us
Yeah,
co-host
man.
today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
Coach
you, Coach.
Motsinger. Look
Appreciate
forward to a
you, buddy.
great
Yes,
season for
sir.
y'all.
Thank y'all, and God bless America.
Thank
Look
you,
forward
sir.
to seeing you, buddy.
Y'all